to this computer. And then I'm starting the webinar. Okay. So it just does a little refresh and then everybody will be in.
Okay, the agendas.
Then the attendees come up on the right.
Okay. It now being 5:30, Bob Coulter will act as chair as Pam is remote this evening. So the Reading Board of Commissioners recognize the importance of hearing public comment at the discretion of the chair on items on the official agenda. Once recognized by the chair, all persons addressing the board shall state their name and address prior to speaking. It is the role of the chair to maintain order in all public comment or ensuing discussion. If there are members participating remotely, could you please identify yourself?
Carla Dukas from KP Law, not member, but just here for the board.
Pam Daskalakis.
There are other folks in the participation. Could you please identify yourselves?
Do we
You have to-
want to allow them? Yeah, we have to allow them to talk.
Ribilla.
They're not allowed to talk.
They can just, you can just leave them observing.
They can observe, they're not allowed to talk or turn off their cameras.
Okay. I
Just
just
raise their hand or something, yeah.
Okay. Item number 1 on our agenda this evening is discussion of the general manager's employment contract. Right. So, at this point, Greg, I recognize that you had a meeting yesterday with the team.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Correct. You made an announcement that, as of June 27th, you will be finishing your responsibilities as a general manager as Reading Light. We appreciate your service. I think we put out a statement yesterday thanking you for what you've done and what you've accomplished here at Reading Light. At this point, there is a couple of items that we need to discuss further. And one would be a succession at this point, to go and Pam and I had, I think it's good to offer up a discussion on how that process would proceed. At this point, we have a meeting next week.
Correct.
And at next week, we would like to announce an interim general manager at Reading Light. Right here, I'm gonna read a suggestion motion. Move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners add the following 2 agenda items to this meeting, specifically appoint of an interim general manager and establishment of a general manager search committee. And the suggestion motion for that would be.
No, you just,
Yeah, I just got it.
you just move that one, approve that one so you can talk about the other 2.
Yep.
I second the suggested motion.
Pam Daskalakis, aye.
Aye.
Uncle Direct.
Ray Porter, aye.
Okay. So, in the suggested motion, right? The language of this motion, I'm just gonna step through it. I'm not reading right now. Move that the RLD Board of Commissioners appoint X to serve as the interim general manager effective as of June 30th, which would be the Monday, following until a full-time appointment is made or the board makes an alternative appointment. While serving as the interim general manager, the employee shall be responsible for his or her current duties as X, whatever they're, and if it's an internal candidate,
Yep.
if it's an external candidate, that will be our next suggested motion. So I'd like to step through the process of the first candidate. I just talking with Pam, I had almost a 3-step process. I believe we'll go to what Pam was suggesting, with being a 2-step process of appointing somebody next week. We would have to have candidates put in a resume for that. We would need The board would have to develop a series of questions that would be equally given to all and equally allotted amount of time for the responses to those questions. We had some questions from the last time we did this. I believe that we could reuse those questions. The same ones, and again, give someone approximately, I think we did 20 minutes or
So we can find out whatever we did.
Yeah, whatever we did.
It's all the documents. So
Yeah. Yeah, and then we would just step through that to whoever would be willing to do that as an internal candidate.
they want to just submit their interest in being an internal candidate.
I would believe so. Yes, and now I'm open to everyone having a discussion on that.
I just want to make sure, before we jump into the discussion, Carla, can you just ensure that we, I know the agenda specifically said discuss the contract. We then had Bob just add a couple of agenda items to the meeting, which we agreed. I just want to, before we jump into discussion about this, are we taking the right steps to ensure we're talking about the right things given the agenda that was posted?
That's a good question. If this were an unanticipated topic, meaning it was unanticipated at the time of the notice, you may have a discussion, but there's always the recommendation that if the board were to take any action, such as appointing a candidate, that be noticed for the next meeting. But you are allowed to have a certain level of discussions about unanticipated topics. And this, I'm assuming, being one of them.
Okay.
Not being anticipated because the announcement had only been made.
Yeah, the announcement was made after the posting of this.
Right.
Of this meeting. And prior to this meeting. So from your perspective, we can discuss the process. We cannot discuss a specific candidate or make a specific appointment.
Right. That should be done in a duly noticed.
Right.
That's a recommendation of the AG. You can discuss things, but when at all possible, try to defer or table some really significant discussions and actions until a time where it can be properly noticed.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure we were 100% clear on that and okay with covering what we're about to cover. Thanks for that, Bob. So in terms of process, I would say my recommendation is that we plan to have appropriate kind of interviews and make the decision on our June 25th meeting. And then we would ensure that, we request candidates, whether it's internal or external, be proposed with sufficient time for those names to be posted as part of our agenda. And then we name an interim at that meeting. And then at that meeting, we also discuss the process for a full-time selection.
If I could interject, the open meeting law would require that interviews be held in a meeting, in a board meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
So the interviews and selection would take place all in one meeting on June 25th.
Okay, thanks.
So to facilitate that, names would be due by Monday at noon, internal or external, so that they could be posted for the Wednesday meeting.
So that process you would walk through would be internal and external candidates.
Internal and external candidates. So any name would have to be in by Monday at noon. So it could be posted for Wednesday.
Yeah, do Monday, yeah. I think it was fourth. Give that. So just, mechanics, would you like that meeting? I have to go back and look at the 25th, and I'll look real quickly. I can't remember if we set that meeting for 5:30 or 6 or 7.
7, because the 5:30 sub audit committee.
Of course. Okay, perfect. Okay, good. So 7, so that's perfect. So we have some time. So let's communicate to people internally and externally if they want to make this submission. Fine. It gives us enough time to assemble it and post it by 7 o'clock. We'll probably get it posted by 4 or 5 o'clock, realistically. Because we can leave everything out except fill it in.
I realize this is just the interim and I just want to make sure I do it the way you want it. So as far as the job posting itself, meaning people have to know that there's an opening to apply for if they're external. So in terms of posting the interim job, I should be.
Yep, we should double check. I don't remember if we created an interim job description last time around. If not, we can basically take the GM job description, which I know we posted, and basically just, say this is for an intern. This is the responsibility on an interim basis. So I think we can do that pretty easy. I know the GM one exists.
The,
Does that make sense?
it does, it just goes back to the question, internal versus external. Do we expand to external? And do we just keep this to internal candidates or do we go to external candidates as well? Because there's no way for us to vet anybody. So anybody who is interested, we would have to give each candidate the interview and appropriate time to respond. So if there are 6, there's 6. If there's 8, there's 8.
Right to public, which is not normally you have a little bit of a screening process to see if the candidate likes the job and you like the candidate before you're going to a public interview. That's just feedback.
A couple comments, feedback on external, couple things. I think it might be hard to attract an external candidate knowing that it's interim. Plus they'd also probably have to give some form of notice that they're probably employed. So the start date would be a difficult thing for an external candidate. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it, just things to consider. I don't know if people are gonna leave a stable job for an interim title. It may be attractive and they may think they can win it long term, and so that's a possibility of attracting somebody, but remember, they also are probably employed and are not gonna be able to start in less than 2 weeks. Just something to consider. Just factor that in when you.
Well, agreed. If someone's coming from an existing full-time job, there are some people who are retired or semi-retired who would have skills that would fit in an interim basis. But those are not obstacles. But yes,
It's just.
yes, it's a constraint for sure. And the interim's going to be that way. So expanding on that, I am open for extending the request externally in addition to the internal. If nothing else, to promote the position opening and let people know that the position's available. There's someone who is external that's qualified, past senior person that wants to come back and understands the organization and is willing to get us through that period. Great. That would probably be the most preferred candidate, but I think given the time frame, certainly an internal person would have a very, very strong chance. But it's also limited to existing staff. So that's a limitation on that end. So I think we need to open it up and encourage existing staff that it's worth doing.
It'd be important to get a sense of the duration. So do you want to say some approximately 3 to 6 months? I
I don't think we could get a full-time person in less than 3 months because we would have the interview process, and then that person would probably leave a full-time job. I would hope by 6 months we would be
I
done.
think what can be done basically is the estimated time of something between, so to do, you get some idea of that, so estimated duration of somewhere between. Estimated.
4 to 6 months.
That's what I get, whatever you guys want to do, that's gonna be important for Susan to put it in.
Yeah. Do we want to set a limit on the number of candidates?
I,
Because again, we,
I don't know how you judge that. You get 20 applications, you said, we only want 10, you're gonna have to make a decision. I don't know if you're going to get 10 or 20, but I don't know what, unless you set a criteria that are objective, and if you don't have a master's degree or 20 years experience or whatever the top objective criteria, I don't know how you screen it.
Yeah, the job description's got criteria there, you guys have to make a decision, but
Well, we could use the word qualified candidates, and that way, if you're not qualified because you haven't worked in the field or.
just bring it back to the job description. I think you're on the right. I don't think you need to put that in a limit,
Oh,
but
Karen, we noted that you have your hand up.
Do you want to allow her to talk? Yes. You want to allow her?
Yes, please.
Me? Oh, I'm sorry. I was just scratching my.
No, I think we wanted to make sure that folks with their hand up could be admitted to speak. I think
Okay.
Karen should be
I'm,
admitted.
I'm
to speak.
sorry to interrupt. This is a point of order. This is Karen Herrick, 9 Dividends Road, Reading. I'm concerned this agenda was about discussing the employment contract, and I'm concerned this has veered off wildly. We have a lot of experience with open meeting law violations. This is unacceptable. I just want a point of order before we get down, before y'all get in trouble. The only agenda item listed is discuss employment contract. So I haven't heard a single thing about this yet. So I just wanted to raise that concern. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Karen. Duly noted. We did make an agenda suggested motion at the beginning. I do not know if you heard that. That's, we did make a motion, and we did get advised that that is okay because it is related to the process.
Yeah,
So-
I would strongly disagree. I'm, you know what, I would caution you that this is, I have a lot of experience with open meeting law violations and how the, what is it, the Attorney General's office responds. I just, yeah, I would table this discussion, but at least I've raised the concern for you all.
Well, thank you. Duly noted. I think we do have to proceed because we do need a process and we do have, a timeline associated with that is finite. So we do need to proceed.
Can I just maybe ask Carla as a participant in this? Can you just, respond to that and confirm for us your
Sure.
recommendation?
As I said, there is an exception for unanticipated topics. This, as I understand, being one of them. And, we can have some preliminary discussions, but if there is the AG usually does suggest that any significant discussions, any substantive actions be tabled to the next meeting. So there is some leeway to discuss unanticipated topics at a meeting if they weren't noticed.
Thank you,
Thank
Carla. Okay, but one suggestion that I have is if we did receive a significant number of applicants, that we generate a subcommittee to review such resumes ahead of time that could help screen, that's it, that is a what if scenario. If 2 board members would be interested in being in that subcommittee for Tuesday, and again, the meeting is on Wednesday, that meeting would have to be it's a subcommittee, so the meeting does not have to be posted, but that subcommittee would be tasked with going through that resume list and seeing if there are unqualified candidates, qualified candidates for the position. We could create that subcommittee if it is for a what if scenario only. You know, if we do by Monday, we will know what our quantitative number is. And then even on Monday and Tuesday, they could meet and review as necessary for the meeting on Wednesday.
I would just like to clarify, a board subcommittee is subject to the open meeting law. It may be more efficient or expedient if you just want to give that task perhaps to the chair. You know, as rather than creating a subcommittee. And a preliminary subcommittee is subject to an open meeting law. It's just that some preliminary actions can be done in executive session, that being the only difference.
Okay, thank you. That's a great
You're
point, Carla. Pam, would you have capacity to do that review next week?
Yeah, so just to be clear, it's candidates due by noon Monday. Initial filtering just to ensure they meet the minimum qualifications as documented in the job description. And then those candidates selected to participate in the Wednesday meeting would be part of the agenda posting on Monday evening. Is that what we're proposing here?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
And
so,
Carla, that is acceptable from a process standpoint.
Yeah, because there's no committee there. You'd be making no deliberations. You would just be performing an administrative task for the board.
Okay.
As the chair.
what would be the time limit? If we have the names, could we leave it as selected candidates, or will we have to post names of the selected candidates?
In the Monday.
In the Monday, in the posting, I do not recall if we posted names. I believe what we did was just had an interview slot 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't recall if we had to post names for the interview.
The names were posted the last time for the.
Okay, the names were posted. So Pam, that then says there's a time limit on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
That would be 4 p.m.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So the review between noon and 4.
Okay.
Okay. Can do. I think we just need to be very clear in the posting regarding the time constraints in terms of start date, the 3 to 6 month term, and the qualifications as in prior job descriptions. Those would remain the same. So any candidate would need to meet those minimum qualifications, including the start date.
Okay. Any other points of discussion on the first suggested motion?
The internal candidates?
Yes.
Suggested question. I think if we're going to go to an external candidate, then that suggested motion for the external candidate be modified to say including existing employees. That I don't think we need 2 motions. Certainly we can't name names in the first. So if we're just putting, if the process we're authorizing right now is simply to post an opening and screen candidates, then the external statement is sufficient and we can add a phrase saying internal candidates and external candidates.
I think your motion would be to make a posting, for the, interim general manager position. That should cover it. That's the action. You're soliciting,
That would be
Yeah.
internal and external,
you're soliciting applicants. You're not actually making an appointment
right?
tonight.
Give the language that you.
So that, would that be then, move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners solicit applicants for an interim general manager until the full-time general manager is appointed or the board makes an alternate appointment? So it's just tweaking that middle one. So that posting could apply to anybody, right?
Yes.
For the discussion.
Right. Do you have language?
I just read it, I thought. Move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners post the position of interim general manager.
For a period of,
For a period of up to 6 months or until a full-time general manager is appointed or the board makes an alternate appointment. So that just tweaks what was written in the middle there.
Yep.
And it doesn't specify internal or external.
Right. A second?
Is that good, Carla?
Yes,
Okay. Yeah, we good? Was that the right way to say it? Sounds like
Yes.
yes. Okay.
yes, yes.
And I second.
Okay.
Aaron, do you have that?
Yeah.
Good.
I got that.
All those in favor?
And Escalakis, aye.
Reporter, I.
Buckholder, aye. Great.
And to the point about, we don't necessarily need to appoint the search committee tonight. We could do that.
No.
Right? So the important thing is what we just did.
Yeah, that's all we should do tonight.
That's all. Okay. Right. At that point, there are no other agendas on the item. So, the next, motion, Dave, if you could.
Move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners go into executive session pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 21A2 to discuss strategy with respect to negotiations with the general manager, Gregory Phipps concerning his employment agreement and return to regular session for the purpose of adjournment. Yes, we need a second, right? We need a second and you need to vote.
Yep.
Can I just have, can we just discuss for a second?
Yes, Tim.
So, just to reflect on, again, Karen's point, we are moving to executive session because we still have items that we need to resolve with this negotiation. So we are not able to discuss as expected the general manager's contract publicly. So just want to be sure that that was clear. So with that,
Okay.
Somebody has a second.
So, yeah, nobody seconded.
Second.
oh, I thought Ray seconded, sorry.
A second, yeah, and that's my job today. I just second things.
All those in favor?
And Escalakis, aye.
Reporter, I.
So you'll get transition. And, Greg.
So I would just,
Hold on one
Leave-
second.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm just gonna.
Thank you.